Hello, my friends, and welcome to another Devotional Connection. I want to share something with you that I was in conversation with earlier today with one of my friends, just speaking about the pieces of furniture in the sanctuary. And I know I spoke on this a few weeks ago, but I want to revisit a thought that I had that was beautiful for me. You have the courtyard of the tabernacle that was given to Moses and the Hebrews. And in that courtyard, you have the altar of sacrifice and you have the laver. Then, what I like to affectionately call God's living room, in that place, you have the table of showbread, the menorah, the candlesticks that had 7 candles, and you have the altar of incense. In past the altar of incense, past the veil that separated the rooms, you had the Ark of the Covenant, where the Shekinah glory of God sat as it represented his throne and the ark and everything that was in it. And we kind of went through that, but here's one of the beautiful things that I think of. I've had quite a few instances in my life where I was taught to obey. One of the ways I was taught to obey, my mom used to sometimes take me and my brother, my sisters to the park after church, and she would tell us while we're in the park, enjoying ourselves, she would say, if you can't see me, if you can't hear me, you're in danger. You're already too far and you're in danger. And it was one of those things you always kept cognizant of, even when you were playing, that make sure you're within earshot and eye shot of your parents. If you've gone too far, you're in danger. And I was at Maricopa Village this weekend, and I likened it to speaking with God. Communication is always available with God, and he's always able, ready, and willing to talk to his children. But when people tell me they don't hear from God or they can't hear from God, I have to turn to them and say, why are you so far away? Because someone has moved. And often we forget the purpose of prayer. This is off tangent, but I'm going to share this. I once asked God about prayer and did I need to pray longer? Did I need to pray harder? Did I need to pray stronger? And his explanation to me was very simple. You're not praying to twist my arm. That's not what prayer is designed for. Praying longer and harder is not the point. You need to pray as long as it takes for your will to align with his. If you notice that when Jesus spoke to his Father in the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed until he said, not my will, but thy will be done. Up until that point, he was praying and praying and praying. The Bible records that Jesus asked 3 times for this cup to pass from me, but the prayer didn't end until Jesus' will aligned with the Father's. It's an amazing thought when we think of when we pray, both in public and in private, and our private prayers, especially those heartfelt ones. It's not about the length, it's about praying until your will aligns with his. That's a side note, and we'll get into that another time. One of the things I liked about the sanctuary and the way God set it up is this one thing. Imagine a child coming home and the lights are on, there's food on the table, and there's communication open with dad. The protection, the safety, the security that dad provides, the fathering that dad provides and gives freely and willingly. And you're not talking about any dad. You're not talking about an earthly dad. You're talking about the best father to ever be. The best to ever do it. The definition of what a good father is. He himself is always home. You're not coming home to an empty house. You're not coming home to an occupied father. You're not coming home to dad being in his den or in the garage working on something. You're not coming home to an abusive father, a dismissive father. You're not coming home to someone who doesn't care. You're coming home to someone who has his attention solely focused on his child. And there's food on the table. and the lights are on because he's waiting up for you. And that altar of incense burned day and night because communication was open with him at all times. You're coming home to Dad. And if the bullies are chasing you, come home. And if it's been a tough day, come home.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, quiet. Even Alexa wants to come home. You are in it with a good Father who's waiting for you to come home. And he's always there, and he's always available, and he hasn't moved, and communication is open. And that communication is right before the most holy place, the bedroom of God. That's what I call it. And that communication is what allows you to come into that space. You don't just barge in. You know, when I was taught, you used to ask permission to go into your parents' room. You waited at the door and asked permission to enter. That was a sacred space for mom and dad. You didn't just go in there and mess around. You didn't go in there and climb into bed. You went to the door and asked permission to come in. God says communication is always open. And I want to be here for you. And bring your friends and bring your family. There's plenty of food. I'm available for everyone. I don't know, for me, thinking about it from a child's perspective, look at what God set up. Daddy's home. Daddy's always home. I have someone to look forward to every time that I come home. And I got to praise him for that. Just my thoughts. Talk to you again soon.